Hello, my name is Elena. Today, I want to tell you something that still makes my heart heavy. It's not a fairy tale. It's not a happy love story. It's the truth. I married without love. And this is my emotional journey sometimes, we say. Yes, when our heart wants to scream no. I was 23 when my parents told me about a marriage proposal. It was a sunny afternoon in June. I was sitting in my room, reading a book, when my mother came in. She had a soft smile on her face, the kind of smile she wore when she had news to share. She sat beside me and held my hand. Elena, she said, a family is coming tomorrow. They want to see you for their son. I felt my chest tighten. I looked at her. Why? I haven't even talked about marriage. She gently touched my hair and said, you're of age now. We want to see you settled. The boy is good. His name is Adil. He works in a bank, has a good salary, and belongs to a respected family. I stayed silent. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I wasn't in love with anyone, but I had always believed in love. I had imagined a story where two hearts meet, where eyes shine when they see each other, where hands hold each other not because of duty, but because of choice. I wanted to marry someone I loved, someone who understood me, someone I felt excited to live with. But life doesn't always follow the script we write in our heads. The next day, Adil and his family came. I wore a simple blue dress. My mother gave me some bangles to wear and asked me to smile. I walked into the room and saw him sitting with a polite smile. He was tall, clean-shaven, and wore a white shirt with black trousers. He stood up and greeted me. Nice to meet you, he said. His voice was calm, serious. We talked for about 10 minutes, with family members all around us. I asked him what he liked to do. He said he enjoyed reading finance books and watching the news. He asked me about my hobbies. I said I loved writing and painting. He nodded but didn't ask more. It felt like a job interview, not a moment of connection, not a spark. After they left, my parents were smiling. My father said, he is a very responsible boy. My mother added, and he is the only son. You'll be treated like a queen. I tried to speak, but Mama, I didn't feel anything. She frowned gently. Love comes later. Elena, you need a good man, not just butterflies. But should I marry someone I don't feel anything for? My father looked at me and said, you're not a child anymore. We've seen the world. This is a safe choice. Trust us. Safe. That word stayed with me in the coming days. I met Adil 2 more times. He was always polite, always serious. He would ask how I was, but never went deeper. No jokes, no laughter, no sharing of dreams. I started to feel like I was preparing for a life with a stranger. One evening, I sat on the rooftop alone. The sky was painted orange. I remembered my childhood dreams, writing books, traveling the world, falling in love with someone who'd look at me like I was magic. But here I was, being asked to marry a man I barely knew, a man who felt more like a formal conversation than a story to live in. I called my best friend, Samir. She had always understood me. I don't feel anything, Sammy. I told her, I'm scared. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, Elena, if your heart is quiet, listen to it. Don't let people force you into a life that doesn't belong to you. I cried that night. I felt torn between 2 worlds, one where I followed my heart and risked breaking my family's expectations, and one where I followed their wishes and risked breaking myself. The next day, my parents sat me down. Elena, my father said, they're waiting for your answer. We won't force you, but we believe this is right for you. I looked at my mother. Her eyes were tired, full of hope and worry. You know, we want the best for you, she said softly. I nodded. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just nodded. That nod changed my life. The engagement was simple: gold bangles, a ring, and a lot of congratulations. Everyone smiled. But my heart didn't. My friends asked if I was happy. I smiled and said yes. But inside, I was lost. I felt like a bird in a cage made of respect, tradition, and silence. The wedding preparations began: dresses, jewelry, henna, guest lists. I smiled in photos. I laughed at jokes. But when I was alone, I cried. I kept thinking, is this really my story? Is this how my journey starts? On the wedding day, I wore red. My mother helped me with my departure. She kissed my forehead and said, "You'll be happy, my daughter." I looked in the mirror. I saw a beautiful bride, but I didn't see me. The real me was somewhere deep inside, hiding, waiting, afraid. When I walked into the wedding hall, everyone stood up. Music played, people clapped. But my heart was silent. It didn't race. It didn't jump with joy. It just waited. Adele looked at me and smiled. I smiled back. That smile was for everyone else, not for me. When we sat together on the stage, he whispered, "You look nice." I said thank you. And that was it. The ceremony continued. Vows were exchanged. Papers were signed. Pictures were taken. I was now married without love. That night, I sat in my new room. Adil was in the living room talking to his family. I looked around at the walls, the new bed, the new clothes, the new nameplate outside the door. Everything was new, except my feelings. They were still the same: confused, quiet, and heavy. I opened my diary and wrote, "Today I became someone's wife, but I'm still searching for myself." The truth is, I didn't say yes because I loved him. I said yes because I was afraid to say no, afraid of hurting my parents, afraid of disappointing society, afraid of the silence that follows a refusal, afraid of being called ungrateful. But what about my fear of a life without love, a life lived in silence, a life that feels like a role in a play, not a true story? No one asked me that. The first morning after my wedding, I woke up early. The room was quiet. The sunlight came through the cream-colored curtains, soft and warm. I sat on the bed, still dressed in half of my bridal clothes. My head felt heavy, not from the wedding jewelry, but from the weight inside my heart. Adil was sleeping on the couch. Yes, on the couch. He said he was tired last night and didn't want to disturb me. He hadn't even touched me, not even to hold my hand. Part of me felt thankful, but another part felt strange. Wasn't this the moment where a new bond begins? Wasn't this the start of something beautiful? I quietly got up and went to the washroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was pale. My eyes were swollen from crying silently the night before. I tried to smile, but it didn't feel real. I changed into a simple shower kameez and went to the kitchen to help my new mother-in-law. She was already cooking breakfast. "You should have rested, Elena," she said kindly. "But you're a good girl. Come, help me with the tea." I smiled and nodded. The whole day went by with guests coming to give gifts and say congratulations. Everyone kept saying, "You both look perfect together." I just kept smiling. But inside, I felt like I was playing a role, not being a wife, being an actor. That night, Adil finally talked to me more than usual. We sat on the bed. "I know this is new for you," he said. "It's new for me too." I nodded. He continued, "We'll need time to adjust. I'm not very expressive, but I'll try my best to give you a good life. A good life. But what is a good life? A house, food, clothes, or love, laughter, connection?" He was kind, but distant. I couldn't feel warmth in his words. I couldn't find any spark in his eyes. He didn't ask me how I was feeling, what I missed from home, what my dreams were. It was like living beside someone who was physically close, but emotionally miles away. Weeks passed. We settled into a routine. I would cook, clean, help his mother, and sit with him in the evenings. He talked about his work, his bank meetings, his promotions. I listened quietly, but I felt invisible. Every time I spoke about myself, my writing, my paintings, my old stories, he would just nod and change the topic, not because he was rude, but because he simply didn't understand. I started writing again, but only in my diary at night. When he fell asleep, I would write about my feelings, how I missed my old life, how I missed laughter, how I missed love. Dear diary, it feels like I am standing in a room full of people, but no one sees me, no one hears me. I am not unhappy, I am just empty. There were no fights, no abuse, no shouting in our marriage. That made it harder to explain what I was going through. People expect to see bruises on your body to believe something is wrong. But how do you show the bruises on your soul? Adil was never cruel, but he was cold. He would say good morning and good night. He would buy me things for the house. He would take me to dinner once a month, but he never looked into my eyes long enough, never held my hand just because he wanted to, never told me he missed me. We were husband and wife, but we were strangers. My mother would call and ask, "Are you happy?" I always said, "Yes, everything is fine." I didn't want to worry her. I didn't want her to feel guilty. But everything was not fine. I started to feel lost. I didn't laugh like before. I didn't paint anymore. I cooked meals, smiled at neighbors, and did everything a good wife should do. But inside, I was fading out. One day, I was folding clothes when I found an old photograph of myself. It was taken 2 years ago. I was sitting by a lake, laughing with Samir, my best friend. My hair was flying in the wind. My eyes were full of life. I stared at it for minutes. Where did that girl go? The evening, I sat on the balcony. The sky was purple and gray. I saw a couple walking outside, holding hands, laughing. Something inside me broke. I covered my face and cried silently. Adil came out and saw me. "What happened?" he asked, standing a few feet away. I wiped my tears. Nothing, just missing my old life. He didn't come closer. He didn't hold me. He just nodded and said, "It'll get better with time." But a did in single quotes t. One night, I asked him, "Do you love me?" He looked confused. "What kind of question is that?" "I just want to know, do you feel anything for me?" He sighed. "I care for you. I respect you. That's enough, isn't it?" I wanted to scream. No, it's not enough. But I stayed quiet. Because I had learned by now screaming won't bring love, crying won't bring closeness. Silence was easier. I started walking in the park alone in the mornings. It gave me peace. I would sit near the trees and talk to myself in my mind. One day, a little girl came to me. She was playing with her balloon, and it flew toward me. She said, "Auntie, why do you look sad?" I smiled and gave her the balloon back. "Do I look sad?" "Yes," she said, "but you're pretty." That little girl didn't know anything about me, but she saw something no one else did. That night, I wrote in my diary, "I have a husband. I have a home. I wear pretty clothes. But I miss being seen. I miss being loved. I miss being me." Adil continued his life, work, phone calls, bank meetings. I continued mine, cooking, cleaning, smiling, hiding. But we never built a life together. We only lived side by side. Some days were easier. He would buy me a dress. We'd go out for dinner. We'd talk for 15 minutes. And for a moment, I'd feel maybe things would change. But deep inside, I knew we were too different. And the distance between our hearts was not getting smaller. I often wondered, what if I had said no? What if I had waited? What if I had trusted my silence that day instead of everyone else's words? But life doesn't give second chances so easily. Sometimes you take one wrong turn, and it leads you far away from yourself. Still, I stayed, not because I was weak, but because I didn't want to break the world my parents had so lovingly helped build. I didn't want to destroy their pride, their respect, their trust in me. So I stayed, with a quiet heart and a loud mind. Every day, I prayed for strength. Not strength to run away, but strength to survive what I had chosen. Days turned into months, months into a year. Life didn't look bad on the outside. Our house was clean, the food was always ready, and our pictures on social media made it look like everything was perfect. Friends commented, "Mashallah, such a beautiful couple." But behind those smiles was a truth no one could see. I wasn't living. I was only existing. Some nights, when Adil slept early, I would sit by the window and whisper to myself, "This can't be it. This can't be my whole life." I was just 24, but I felt like I was 60. My dreams had packed their bags and left quietly. While I was trying to be a good wife, Adil still treated me kindly, but he never became close to me, not in the way that mattered. There was no love, no curiosity about my thoughts, no hunger to know me deeper. I was not his partner. I was more like a roommate with a shared last name. But something began to change inside me, slowly, quietly. It started with a small feeling. One evening, while drinking tea, I looked at the wall where my wedding photo was hung. I stared at it for a long time. My face had a smile in that picture, but my eyes were empty. I whispered aloud to myself, "Where did that girl go?" And something inside me answered, "She's still here. You just stop listening to her." That voice, small, gentle, honest, shook something inside me. That night, I took out an old box that I had brought from my parents' house. It had my paintbrushes, my notebooks, my old short stories. I touched each one like I was meeting old friends again. My fingers trembled. My eyes filled with tears. I had forgotten this part of myself. I opened a notebook and began to write again. Not just in my diary, but real writing, stories, feelings, broken poetry. I poured my soul onto paper. I didn't write for anyone else. I wrote for me. And as I wrote, I felt alive. I began to wake up early, just to sit on the balcony and write before the world woke up. I started going for walks again, not just to pass time, but to feel the world, the sky, the birds, the sound of children playing. It all started to matter again. But the more I reconnected with myself, the more I saw how far I had drifted from the life I wanted. One afternoon, I was sitting in the kitchen when Adil came home early. He saw my notebook on the table and asked, "What are you writing?" I smiled, "Just stories." He looked confused. "You still do that?" "Yes," I replied. "I never stopped loving it." He didn't say anything. He just walked to the living room, picked up his laptop, and got busy with work. That's when it hit me. I was trying to rise, but he wasn't even watching. I was finding my voice, and he was still lost in his world. I had changed, and he hadn't even noticed. A few weeks later, I visited my parents. My mother made my favorite food. My father asked me about life. I wanted to tell them everything, but I couldn't. Not yet. But when I hugged my mother before leaving, she held me a little longer. You don't smell like before, she whispered. I froze. My heart started to beat faster. I'm okay, I said. She didn't press further, but her words stayed with me. The next day, I sat down with myself. No phone, no notebook, just silence. I asked myself the hardest question. Do I want to live like this for the rest of my life? The answer was no. Then I asked, what do I want? And slowly, the answer came. I want to feel alive again. I want to be seen, heard, loved. I want to wake up with purpose, not pressure. I want to be more than just someone's wife. I want to be me again. It was the clearest truth I had ever heard from my heart. That night, I told Adil we needed to talk. We sat in the living room in silence at first. Then I said, Adil, I need to say something honest. He looked at me and waited. I have tried, truly, I have tried to make this work, but I don't feel loved. I don't feel seen. I'm not blaming you. Maybe we were never meant to be. We're good people, but not good for each other. He looked surprised, but not angry. That surprised me. I know I've been distant. He finally said, maybe I don't know how to love the way you need. Tears filled my eyes. And maybe I don't know how to live a life without love. We both sat quietly. No shouting, no drama, just truth. After some time, he said, what do you want to do? I took a deep breath. I want to choose myself. For once, I want to choose my voice, my peace, my dreams. I don't know what the future holds, but I can't stay in a marriage where I feel invisible. It was the hardest thing I ever said, but also the most powerful. Over the next few weeks, we spoke with our families. It wasn't easy. My mother cried. My father stayed silent. Society whispered behind our backs. Some called me brave. Others called me selfish. But I stood firm. Because I wasn't leaving a man, I was returning to myself. I moved back to my parents' home. I started teaching writing to children in the neighborhood. I published a few short stories online. And for the first time in years, I slept peacefully. I wasn't ashamed. I wasn't broken. I was healing. I was growing. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see myself again. My smile is real. My eyes are alive. My heart is light. And if someone asks me, do you regret marrying without love? I say no, because that experience taught me the most important lesson of all: never ignore the voice inside you. Today, I speak at women's events. I write about courage, identity, and healing. I've met many women who went through the same silence, and I tell each one of them, your happiness is not selfish, it's your right. Your story matters. You matter. Final words. So yes, I married without love, but I didn't stay without love, because I finally gave that love to the one person who needed it the most: me.